All right, what's going on, guys? As you saw yesterday, I did a little more conversation, like interview with Max Greenwald over. He's a manager at Hofstra. Spoke to him. A lot of knowledge was dropped. Also, very blessed to be able to do that. And today, I'm talking to one of the overtime captains. I'm sure you guys all heard overtime. If you know me, you obviously know what overtime is. So I'm talking to overtime lefty right now. So before we kind of get into things, could you kind of give yourself a introduction, tell people what you do, and all that stuff?
Okay. Well, as you told you, my name is OvertimeLefty, but that's what I'm known as. My name is Rolando. But the stuff that I do for overtime, I started as a shooter basically at first. They called me up. I remember it was just probably about a summer and a half ago, a year ago, you could say, a year and a half ago, and they asked me to go out to the Final Four. So I went to shoot the USA mini camp out in Minneapolis. It's actually fun because I got to meet so many players that I never, would imagine to meet. Like Shareef Cooper, Jalen Green, obviously Jalen Suggs from out here. Man, you could keep naming those cats out there. It's just tough. Those kids. And then from there, they just asked me, hey, do you want to do this as a part-time job? It's not a full-time job. I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm fine with doing that. So I just started, basically going to Jalen Suggs games, filming his games, his AAU games, and then they asked me to do some Paige Bierker games also. So then I started doing that. And then from there, they didn't know I knew Overtime Larry. And then, they called me one day. They was like, hey, do you want to film, Jalen's 18th birthday party? Overtime Larry's going to be up there. And I was like, yeah, that's cool because I haven't seen my boy in a while. They was like, your boy? I was like, yeah, I played baseball with him when growing up. He's my childhood friend, basically. And it was like, oh, nice. You should have been told us this. And then I guess, me telling them that kind of just made them trust me even more, where they just asked me a few months later, hey, do you want to be a social media assistant for us? And I'm like, nice, I'll do that also. So now I'm also managing an app for them. I can't speak too much into that, but I manage an app for them right now. And I just manage shooters now. I was a shooter before, now I manage shooters. So it's pretty nice doing that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely super cool.
And yeah.
Oh, all right. Wait. You're done, right? Or was there more?
I could speak about more, but if you have any other questions, I could fill in also about the stuff that you want to ask.
I thought you were gonna well, first you stopped, so I'm like, all right, he's done. But then you're like, and yeah, so I was making sure is there anything else that you still do with that's a part of your job, or do you kind of touch on everything?
Well, man, I do a lot of stuff that they ask me to do. I'll go shoot also soccer games, football games. Man, basically, depending on what they ask me to do, I never say no to them. You know what I mean? I work at a school district, so the time I can manage the time. I could take pay time off. I'm normally the type that I'll take pay time off if they ask me to go, hey, go film this soccer game, which is 2 hours and a half away. I'll drive. You know what I mean? Because something I love doing. I love filming people. I don't care what sport it is. It just something I enjoy doing, and they see that. They see the love that I got. The stuff that I do. So it's just they'll ask me to do pretty much anything, and I'll just go ahead and do it. So I just fill in the spots. And I do a lot of also they you could say they what you call that background so if they have people shooting with their big cameras and stuff like that, I'll get behind the scenes, a lot of the behind the scenes, so they could post in their IG stories and stuff like that, before the video comes out. So it's kind of nice, to be around that stuff, because then you learn how to do things with cameras, see how the production moves around, and you can be able to pick up on things. And I was, you could say, basically lucky enough that, they was down the shooter the time that it came down to Minneapolis to shoot Jalen's 18th birthday, and I was able to grab a big camera, one of those big Sony's. I never even tried to film with one of those in my life before. I started off with a small Canon, I remember at the time, and grabbing those big cameras, and I just try to do the best that I can, but I picked up so quick, and just watching how they move and do the things they do, and they just told me once, hey, do this, do that, and I just picked up really quick where, it was just it was like me riding the bike, basically, you know what I mean? And they like that stuff, that I picked up on stuff like that pretty quick, and I could fill in the spot, So.
Yeah. You just said you riding a bike, so when you learn how to ride a bike, that came super easy to you? That didn't take you a while to learn how to do?
A lot of people say it's tough to ride a bike, but I felt it was easy. I remember putting my I took the training wheels off and then put my right leg up and then just started riding the bike, and it was pretty much it. From there on, it's just like I never lost I never lost the swag of, like, I say, riding the bike. It was just natural to me. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I feel like I pick up on things pretty quick, and I'm always on YouTube also. I self-taught a lot of myself, like, a lot of things that I know also, like with cameras and editing and stuff like that. I self-taught everything. I never went to school for them, the stuff that I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the guys do. They go to school and do this stuff.
Yeah, and that's just so crazy too, because it's almost like sad in a way, because I don't, like, all the kids at my school that are on TV production, like majority of them, don't really want to get into the more like sport, not even sports side of things, but more like they want to go into more like filming movies and short films, like that stuff. But it's just like I know so many kids their age that never took a TV production class at their school ever, and are pretty big time in the industry, and they're just thinking that like there's nothing for them to do. Like it's just kind of sad how like some kids just don't realize like there's like opportunities out there now. But I guess with sports, though, like sports can really open a lot of doors for a lot of different things. And just sticking to opening doors, like I guess you mentioned how you were able to work yourself up with overtime, but in terms of them discovering you for that very first gig with them, how did they hear about you for that to happen?
So it's crazy. It's a story to tell about this one though, cause like I remember picking up a camera. It was a Canon G-Shot Mark II, and I remember I just bought it just to vlog, cause I had like a little YouTube channel. And then from there, my little sister that I took custody of, she's out here in St. Cloud, Minnesota, basically, and she's going to school. Well, she still go to school. She played basketball, so I went to film her with the camera. But it would just happen that there was a boys basketball game right after that, and I started like basically a training channel, like my Instagram channel I got right now. It was more like No Breaks at first, and that's the name of it that started off. And it was just more like to just train the kids, because since I played college basketball, I just wanted to be like a trainer developer. And then from there, I just filmed this one kid like breaking this other kid's ankle. I remember posting a video, and then it just like blew up. And then from there, I was like, you know what? This is something I just want to do. And then I remember I hit Larry up, and it's crazy going back to that. I hit Larry up. I'm like, hey, because that's when overtime just like started like growing. And I'm like, yo, bro, can you think you can hook me up and stuff like that? He's like, hey, right now, I'll be honest with you, my boy and everything, but there's so much I could say. And then in Minnesota, we already got a guy, covering Jalen. And I'm like, who is that? I don't know these top players right now that's going on and stuff like that, because I was not into the, the sport media stuff. And then he just started updating me, and then he's like, hey, just do what you got to do. Hey, just search up some games and go and film on your own and, see what you can do from there. So that's exactly what I did. I remember going to like one of the top games. It was like the first time ever. Like I went, and I remember I got there at 7 o'clock. It was a snowy day. I parked my car outside, and I ended up getting the ticket because I parked it right into the pump. But it was just packed doors, and I remember going to the front of the door, and I was like, hey, I got a camera. I came here to film Jalen Suggs. And it was like, oh, Jalen Suggs? Okay, come in. So I came in. I didn't even have to like show no media pass and anything, because it's, they want exposure, I guess, out here. So, and they was playing DSL, which the guy that they played against was Tyree Terry, I think that's his name. And he played right now for the Mavericks. He got drafted. I think, I forgot what round, but anyways, I got to be able to film one of those big games. That was basically my first actual mixtape that I ever made. I didn't know what I was doing. I used iMovie at the time. I didn't know what was 60 frames per second, like just slow motion and stuff like that. Everything was choppy. Still vision what I was doing. And you could say from there, I just kept going to games. But I was just going to Jalen Suggs games, because I was just trying to see who was the person that was following him. So then I got to be able to meet the person that was actually following Jalen, which was Alex. His name was Alex. And he still worked for us. And I was like, hey, bro, would you be able to hook me up, like, with a job? Like, I know you're the only one doing this right now out here. And then he just happened to tell me going back, or he was going with her to New York, and he's like, hey, I'll just let him know about you. And, to be honest, I felt like at first, like, he wasn't going to reach out or anything, but, it was crazy. He actually did. And I remember I ended up coaching baseball because I work at a middle school, and I'm just coaching baseball when I get a message from Overtime Thomas. And he's like, hey, are you interested in filming for us? And I was like, whoa. Like, I'll tell you this, like, I ran from the baseball field all the way inside the school, and I left the kids outside. but I also had my assistant coach out there at the time. So mind you, I'm on the phone with them, and we had a little interview. You know, they were asking me about myself. Like obviously, like I told you, I never basically broke it down like I knew Larry and none of that. You know, I just spoke about myself and what I do, and how I just picked up a camera and I just wanted to do this stuff. And it was like, hey, you don't have to use your camera. We have a a phone app that's called OT camera app, and then we are the only one that can verify you in it to be able to use it. And I'm like, oh, nice, and they just walked me through it. I watched this little video on it, and then from there, you can say that's when they told me, hey, do this USA thing, and then from there, that's when things just kept going my way, and then I just ended up going, and they scheduled me for every Jalen Suggs game throughout the season, which I filmed his season, his senior season, and I was able to film Chet from there because he started getting noticed. And yeah, and then and just it was just not say, you know what I mean?
Yeah, facts, and that really sounds unbelievable. And I'm wondering, like, with the overtime, you mentioned the whole like phone thing, but before, like, did you start off with a camera? Like, were you more into the more like not technical, but I guess higher end stuff? Like did you want to have a nice camera, like editing on these crazy softwares, or when they kind of told you like you could do it on your phone, was that at all like, well, yeah, I would love to use a camera and kind of be a little more higher end than just filming on my phone, or what? Like, what was your opinion on that? Because even some people say like overtime, there's like pros and cons to using their phone. Like I use my phone, to film stuff because of the pros. Like first want to get the clips out. As long as overtime's not there, like I'm the first one to get it out. Like it's a big advantage. But for you, where you are passionate, about filming, I mean, even the picture we got back there, like that's a pretty nice camera. So when they told you that, like, what was your opinion with that? Where you're like, yeah, you're gonna need to drop the camera and just use your phone, like pretty basic.
At the time, and I'll speak about that because a lot of kids they just they don't understand also that you have to just try to do anything possible to like get your way in. You know what I mean? Basically, like just say yes basically to everything, and you can work your way there. Because at the time, like I told you, I had a Canon. That's a Sony right there that I have in the background, which I worked my way to that. Just like saving my money also with overtime paying me and just my other job. And I started filming my own, basically, you say I just went to schools and just filmed mixtapes with my own camera. But they also asked me after a while, like, hey, do you want to, because I told them I just bought a camera, a Sony camera. They was like, oh, do you want to use your Sony? Because now if I use my Sony, I'm a pro cam person, basically. That's what they call them, a pro cam, like professional camera. But I didn't want to really use my professional camera because then you have to like do too much where you have to like name the file, just do a lot into that, and the OT app was just so simple for me, and I know other people got preference of doing mixtapes and stuff like that. And I probably would have had the choice to do stuff like that. And I still do, but I feel like it was just pretty simple to do, like, just from the OT app. And you could say just, I'm just still learning, like, how to still edit a certain way, how to go about things a certain way. Cause you gotta have your own style. You don't want to be like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And I just like my boy Josh, for example, Jingler. He loves filming with his camera. He said if OT ever asks me to, film with my phone, I'll tell him personally I do not want to film with my phone. Me, I never had an issue with that. It was either or. If they would have told me to film with my camera, I film with my camera. If they told me to film through my phone, I would have filmed through my phone. So it's more like some people got just preferences, you know what I mean? And I didn't, and I don't, it just is what it is. They actually told, hey, you pick up your camera and film this, I'll go pick up my camera and do it. Cause it's just something I'll just do, it's just more preference. I feel like, in that terms of like, if you want to use a camera or not, because they have the option, I can have the option to tell them right now, hey, I don't want to film through the app no more. I want to use the camera, and they'll allow me to film through the camera. But it's kind of tougher though to film through a camera because it's like when you film through a camera, you have to like literally stop almost every clip, and then with the app you don't have to really do that. You know what I mean? And it just takes a lot with a big lens also, just the heaviness, just the keeping it stabilized. Just keeping it at a great angle. Sometimes it's tough because people don't want you standing up in front of them, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So with a phone, you can do so much. You can maneuver a little better, I feel like. And then things go quicker. You can catch a highlight right away, and you don't have to the memory card and then try to put it in an adapter, try to send it away before somebody else like slam next to you trying to do it. So we try to work way faster. So I'd rather just do the phone and try to get things quick. Just text them, hey, I got to fire a clip. Go check that out real quick. And that's why things get posted right away, you know what I mean, from overtime. We just got a quicker system. And then we also have a person that we hired that's a pro cam. So I'm there with my camera, and we also got a pro cam person next to us so they can make a better mixtape, you know, better quality mixtape to it, you know, or if they want to just like storytell behind it or stuff like that. So, you know, we have basically just different, you could say, I would film horizontal. We have somebody in the other baseline filming vertical, and then we have the pro cam person right next to us, you know what I mean? For the footage, like for the later on footage, like they want to make a fire mix to it, want to add edits, you know, stuff like that, After Effects and stuff like that they want to do, you know. So I just say it's more of preference, if, you know, for overtime in a way. You know, you can always ask, you know, if I could use a camera, but, you know, in a way they do prefer that you use a phone. You know, if you're a shooter, you're a shooter. You know, but they'll talk to you. They'll make you, like, the thing is, like, it's whatever makes you feel comfortable. That's what they tell you. You know what I mean? But anything makes me feel comfortable. Whatever they ask me, I'll just do it, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you mean. And I know, so I think you did say that you were kind of one of like you kind of start off with overtime, you know, before it was this big, where pretty much like, I feel like overtime, like every little kid that just loves overs. Like I think overtime is the favorite, at least of the youth, like the younger kids. So like they're extremely big now. But can you talk about like what it was like seeing that brand go from, I'm sure it was still big, like, because you were extremely hyped to, you know, get a position with them, but from seeing it get from just big to, you know, now one of the biggest brands in sports now?
It was crazy because, like, you know, when I got into it, it was just like they only had like probably 1 million followers at the time, or 2 million. And it was, you know, it was okay channel that was growing and stuff like that, but I didn't think it was gonna get to the way it was getting, you know, and especially like me being in Minnesota and being the person I am out here for these kids, like they look up to me out here, and it's like I started going to games and I started wearing like they merch and stuff like that because they send me their merch for me to wear, like they overtime shooter shirt and stuff like that, and you know, they sweaters and stuff, and I'll wear it to the games. And I was wearing the media pass, I remember, and then kids was coming up to me, hey, can I take a picture with you? Can I take a picture with you? And then from there, it was just like I'll go to the mall and stuff like that, and it was like, oh, that's OvertimeLefty, you know. And I could say, you know, shout out to my boy Overtime Larry. You know, he really also helped me out here because when he was coming out here, he came out here 2-3 times to do like OT challenges and stuff like that with these players. And every time he would come out here, it was more like, hey, this is my boy. You know, show love to him. I know I'm Larry, but this is my boy. And then from there, it was just like, you know, everybody was just showing love. And it's just like the brand just Overtime. Once they see Overtime on you and they know what you're doing for these people, it's like, oh my God, you know, like, hey, can you put me on to the page, you know? But there's a professional way of going about it. Like, you know, you can't just tell the kids like, no, I can't put you on the page, you know. You got to motivate them, you got to push them, you know. And they seen that in me, you know. I'm not just a quiet camera person. I'm a personnel also. Like I like to be me, you know, and I like to, like, you know, motivate kids and stay positive with them and try to encourage them to be better, you know. And I tell them, hey, you know, if you keep doing this, you keep doing that, you know, if you keep training, or you know, you can get more exposure, you know what I mean? And, you know, I'll keep looking at you, you know, I'll keep an eye, and I could be able to, you know, send a couple clips and see what they say about you. I would never say no to them, you know, because that's when you kind of push them away, and you're not motivating these kids, you know what I mean? And I say, that's what I've been doing. That's who I am, and I enjoy doing what I do, you know. Like I basically like to motivate these kids, and even though I could say the kid, you know, he thinks he could be on the page, and obviously over time probably like, yo, he need more potential, or he needs more exposure, like he need to put more points, or how can I say it, just like his style of playing got to be a little different, or his height and stuff like that, you know. I'm not the person to discourage a kid like, hey, you don't have the height, hey, you don't fit the, you know, the stand, like you don't fit these, whatever, I can't come up with the word for it, but it's more like, you know, like in the youth, like now, like overtime, all we try to do is make everyone feel equal, basically. You know what I mean? Try to show that love to everyone. And it's not about just one player. It's not about this one player, you know. Yes, we push this one player there, but everyone that works in overtime motivates all the kids the same way, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like we don't just push a kid to the side, you know, because he's not Mikey Williams, you know what I mean? Or Jalen Green or, you know, whoever we follow. We try to still connect with the kids. We still try to feature them, even though they don't see themselves like one of these players. If you know, if that makes sense, you know, I don't know if I'm explaining myself right now, but I just feel like, you know, we more of a try to make everybody feel good about themselves, comfortable, and not like feel themselves like they gotta isolate themselves because they're not that great. You know what I mean? Or we just gonna follow this one player because he's just the greatest. You know what I mean? No, it's not like that. You know what I mean? We try to show love to everyone. That's why we got multiple pages. Like, and a lot of people don't see that too. You know what I mean? That we have like a VIP page also. We have a captain's page. We have a what else we have? We have so many pages that I can't even name right now, to be honest, that we always like featuring kids. We even have an overtime kids page now that we started, you know what I mean? Like just middle school kids and stuff like that, elementary school kids that we still like, you know, we feature and stuff like that. And just when we go to games and we film in Jalen Suggs, for example, because that's it cut out a little bit.
Oh
You
no,
still
no,
here?
no. You're good. You left off like I literally like didn't really cut out at all. You just said like when you were filming Jalen Suggs, and then I just talked.
And I'm not bringing him a lot in PH Brilka because those are the people that I film out here. But when I'm filming those kids, there's other kids that get exposure also from us filming these guys. You know what I mean? If you score 30 something points against Paige Bucher, that girl I forgot her name. She plays for Park Center. I forgot her name, but she got featured on the page. She was like she scored 30 something points on Paige Bucher team. You know what I mean? You know, we don't just push one person that we are just filming that one game. You know what I mean? If another person is doing great, also, we acknowledge that person. You know what I mean? So we're not just a one. You know, we're not just we don't pick and choose really. It's just, you know, you got to do what you got to do and show out. And then we're going to do what we got to do to put you out there and get that exposure. You know what I mean? That makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. And I guess what's good about overtime is the stuff they do. Like if they also post a lot of the viral clips. Like last time it goes viral. Like, I mean, I'm sure some people like they'll have this crazy dunk and they'll be like, oh, like, you know, throwing up the O. Like that's just kind of, you know, what they do. Like they're kind of known for putting out those viral clips. So obviously everyone could have a viral clip. You know, it could be this random kid in his neighborhood core, but somehow someone got a video of him, you know, getting crossed up, clip blows up. Like that's going on overtime, which is good. You know, always giving people an equal chance of exposure because I would honestly say, like, if you want to get an overtime, like, if you have a viral play and someone got on video, like, you know, probably just tag overtime, you know, tons of times, and it'll be, you know, showing up on there. And also something else cool that, like how you mentioned, is when you go and wear that, like, that overtime merch. I mean, I remember myself, like, I didn't know these, you know, the shooters, but I remember when I was going to games in my ninth grade year, I'm a junior now. So when I was in ninth grade, I was just going because I was a fan of like high school basketball and just high school basketball. And I was seeing like all the big time players in my area, and like Ball's Life was there, Slam was there, Overtime was there, and I would go and I'd be in the crowd, and I had my phone and I would just videotape. Like I would zoom into all the media, and then on Snapchat like Overtime, Slam Ball, so like I would remember who these people are because I thought they were celebrities too. I didn't know their names. I don't know who they are, but I saw, you know, the guy with the Slam sweatshirt on. This guy's wearing his Ball is Life merch. Then I have the guy with Overtime sweatshirt on, and I'm like, yo, these people are celebrities. Like that's just so crazy how that brand could kind of change people's lives. And it's even crazier for me too, how, you know, I'm talking to a guy like you, or even I showed one of the people that I'm like kind of friend or pretty good friends with that I was working for Overtime at the time, and I showed him the video, and he was like laughing, like that's so crazy. Because now like I'm talking to him like whatever. But before, like 2 years ago, I thought he was like this big time. I didn't know his name, but I thought he was just some big time celebrity, all because he had the overtime merch on his chest. And again, you mentioning the whole thing with, you know, giving kids more an equal chance or just kind of never turning them down, like always just trying to provide them inspiration. I mean, I have kind of picked that up now that you say, like when people, you know, tag overtime 1,000 times or they comment on overtime's post, like, can you please like my recent, like it's my birthday. You know, they always just like, of course they're not going to respond like if it's an hour later, but for one of the first guys and, you know, Overtime Tom or whatever, like, oh, happy birthday, they comment on the kid's post. And that's super important too for social media and building a brand. If you kind of make yourself like a nice guy, you know, for all people, of course, you be professional. You could say like, these are the top guys we want on our page, but you could still be nice to, your supporters, because again, they're supporting you, they're helping you get started. That's extremely important. And I was looking even at the post you were tagged in just a second ago, and I see there's these like random kids like posting their basketball clips, and you're tagging them, you're liking the post, you're commenting on the post, and I'm like, then you're following them too. Like, could you talk about how important it is for you yourself to just be genuine to your supporters?
So, can you break that down a little bit? Because, break it
Yeah,
down a little bit for me.
yeah. Like, and my interpretation of being genuine is kind of like how I mentioned. So let's say I'm this random kid. Let's say I have 5 followers. Honestly, hooping, like I could be teach myself how to dribble with one hand, and I think I'm insane, like just dribbling like up and down with one hand. And I'm gonna tag because I think it's gonna blow up when it's nothing. But I'm an innocent little kid, and I'm gonna tag overtime, all the overtime accounts. Gonna tag overtime Larry. I'm gonna tag you. I'm gonna tag overtime Tom. Then I see like at the post you're tagged in, these like random kids. You're commenting on the post. You're giving them a follow back. You're showing your support. And in my opinion, that's like being a genuine person, at least in terms of like just on social media. So can you talk about how important being nice to your supporters has been for you?
Well, with us, like overtime, especially like the team, what we do is like we talk about what we want to do to make these kids like feel good about themselves. So, like you said, being genuine to them, it's like I'll go to like the overtime hashtag or the shout out OT, and I'll stay there for like an hour or two. I'm scrolling down to every video, and I'm over here, literally commenting and liking a post. I'll be honest with you, I can't follow everyone because then I'll see myself following way over the amount of people. And, you only want to follow the people that you actually connect with every day and have a relationship with, and it's tough to do that with everyone. You want to do it, but it's tough to do that, to follow everyone. Kind of have to pick and choose who you want to follow, but you don't have to pick and choose a comment on somebody's page or like their page. And that's what we pretty good at. Like our team, we will literally for an hour or two go to a hashtag. And even though it takes like a day or two or an hour or two, at least one person in the team is normally, commenting, hey, nice layup, nice crossover, good drills, whatever inspires you kids. Like we just make sure we commenting on whatever they tagging us, even if it take a little while, but we always commenting on their pages to make them feel good. Like we just don't leave them there because then they get discouraged of themselves. Like, oh, I'm not too good, or because I know I could be that type of kid growing up if I would have tagged a couple. Like, when I was growing up, it was Boiler's Life when I was growing up. So let's say if I would have tagged Boiler's Life, it's like, oh, why they not responding? Oh, I'm trash, or I'm not that good. And we don't want these kids to think like that. So we just show love, and it's not like we don't think they trash or nothing, or or anything else. We just like I said earlier, we gonna show equal love. It's the same way we comment on big pages, we're gonna comment on the person that has only 2 followers. That has just a regular basketball video that has probably 3-4 views on it. So it's not just about the followings or people that's got a big audience or anything like that. It just the equal love that we give to everyone. Just we're trying to show everyone that we're not just about one player. And it's just all about just can't think right now about what I wanted to say right there, but my mind's going blank.
I get where you're coming from. It's just crazy. I never realized, but like I usually use because hashtags are important. Getting yourself out there, especially because my content never blows up. So I'm always doing hashtags. Because my stuff never hits the explore page. So the one way for me to get myself out there to other people besides my followers is, players to repost my stuff, and then using hashtags. So hashtag overtime, like I use a hashtag a lot, and I realized the post I discovered, who you were, and when you discovered who I am, was I actually used the overtime hashtag, but it could have been from that, or it could have been from I interviewed Donovan. He plays for Mini Haha too, so it could have been because you reposted the interview. Things, but that is pretty cool. How that's how it that could be the reason why I met you, and I do agree on that with the whole like it doesn't hurt to like someone's post. If a player tags me in their stuff, like I'm gonna like the post, I'm gonna comment, I might even comment like multiple times, like spam it, because if the guy's following me, or even if he doesn't, like if he sends me a thing, I don't know, I don't know how he discovered me, but he obviously thought of me, which is cool. And thinks I'm somewhat legit, that he just wants to like from me. So I'm kind of like flattered by that already. So I'm gonna spam his stuff. And even if he's not following me, because that could turn into a follow. It could. I'm not nothing big time, but again, the kid obviously wants it, so it could make his day or something like that if I'm the only one to do something like that. But you touched on the whole, like, you can't follow too many people, which I do agree with. But I was going to ask you about that, because I was looking at I think your most recent tag post was these random kids, and like you're like my only mutual follower with them. Like, I know for a fact they're pretty random, so I thought you're kind of genuine with giving out follows. But can you address again like the importance of that ratio and just really your mentality when it comes to following certain people? Because at least like I was looking at them, I thought you were like pretty generous with giving out follows. So can you just talk
I
about
am.
a little bit?
I kind of am though. I honestly do need to clean up a little bit on my page because there's a lot of people that I'm following that I don't stay in contact with. I don't have a relationship with. To be honest, I'm not talking to everyone every day. But I do get a couple kids that they'll send me, you could say a paragraph of how
Yeah.
they feel, and those kind of the kids that I do feel something like where I'm like I'm gonna give him a follow. You know what I mean? Because he actually went out his way. It's not like a kid just messaged me like, "Hey, can I get a follow?" You know what I mean? And usually those kids don't have a profile picture. I don't know who he is. I don't even know if it's a real page. Stuff like that. They might have like some Fortnite stuff going on, not really some sport things. You can't follow those type of kids, because it's not something that is in your audience, you could say, if that makes sense. So I just go and pretty much just follow the kids that I feel like that deserve a follow, in a way that I know I could connect with, and they're gonna, it's gonna be a day, almost a day by day, relationship that I'll have with them, like, where they'll post something actually positive and I'll just comment and I'll know because I got the post notification on, and obviously they're one of my followers. But you say it's pretty tough though to kind of manage following, because you're not the first person that told me, hey, you kind of like generous following people, because I do follow kind of like the ratio that I have is like, whoa, I'm gonna hit almost 2,000 following, and it's like, hey, do you actually talk to all these 2,000 people? And do they even keep up with your page and stuff like that? And what I see is like most of the people that when I do post something, the people that don't follow is the people that are actually keeping up with me because they got the post notification on, and the ones that are actually following me are not. So it's kind of tough though to kind of pick and choose, and then just how Instagram works, you can't just go and unfollow everybody like right away, because then if you just get into like some guideline stuff and stuff like that, and I'm more of a like, I'm not really a number person, if that makes sense. Like, I've never been a person like, oh, I want to hit 10K right away, or oh, I care about these type of followers. Like at first, yeah, when I first started my no breaks page and got into overtime, it was more, yeah, I need to hit 10K. But I've noticed just talking to people, and especially those people that got blue checks and people that have over 10K followers, you don't need the numbers to be who you are. You know what I mean? You can just be you and still have like, how can I say that just that audience that will still support you and appreciate you for what you do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and what's crazy too, like you said how people would come at you and be like, yeah, like do you even talk to all these people and all that stuff? But I'm trying to like clean up my ratio too, because again, even though people say it's not important, like it is really important to have a good ratio, good followers. I mean, like it is important. So that's kind of a tough thing for me to like see my pages go declining like this, because I mean, people could say it's not important, but then I ask like is it really not important? And they're like, no, like it's actually kind of important if you want to seem like a legit page, because some people may not know anything about you, but you'll make a video on them or something like that, and they'll see, oh, hey, this guy has 5,000 followers and only follows like 100 people. Oh, he's doing something right. Let me show support. This guy's obviously legit. So it honestly is super important. But the crazy thing is though, like I'm looking at who I follow and who and trying to see who I could unfollow. And my thing is like, so if I've done an interview with you, I will probably still follow you unless it didn't go well. Like I'll unfollow you, but I'm looking like all these guys I've either interviewed or I've spoken to them at least once, and they're like respecting the media. Like I have, of course, I have like a few NBA players that I may need to unfollow soon. I think when I hit 3K, if that even happens, I may do like a good like unfollowing spree. But it's crazy like the amount of people I like have said a word to, have done an interview with, because I feel like if you're doing an interview with me, you're doing me a favor. So even though you unfollowed me, like I think I'll stay following. Like I want to see what's going on with, like I genuinely care about your life, and I want to see how you kind of turn out to be. But it's crazy. Like you're saying, you probably don't talk to, or those people don't really support you. But I guarantee you're going to scroll through that list. Like at least 50% of those people you probably had an interaction with, and at least for you, so 50% of what you got, that's at least 500 people. So that's just crazy in itself. But some people, like someone told me, like you follow tons of people. Like I don't know, like I was kind of like offended by that, how they were saying like, oh, now I know why you grew, because you follow a lot of people. Like even though I have more followers and following, but I don't know, like that kind of like, I didn't like throw a fit or like cry or anything like that, but I was kind of like that was like a bra moment, like really, I'm not like, it's because all these people, I've really had an interaction with for the most part, or I just, love them as a basketball player, or it's like, slam or overtime where I just, respect what they do, or ball is life too. So I guess can you talk about more how you've dealt with that, or some people maybe coming at you a little, obviously not to like make you mad, but it could just even be like a casual comment, like not even to piss you off, like the guy wasn't trying to make me like upset. And I never never got mad like at him. I was just like, yeah, like it's not a big deal. It's for people who I've probably met or I have met before. But like, how have you dealt with that with some people kind of saying that kind of stuff to you?
Well, I get that most of the time. Sometimes, like where I can't say most of the time, but I do get some kids or pages of talk about just how like, well, things went blank right now. Can you just go back to what you were saying again?
Yeah. I was asking like, how you've dealt with people like coming at you, even if it's not in like a rude way, if they're just saying something like, for example, like, yeah, oh, okay, now we know why, you kind of have all these followers because you follow tons of people, like stuff like that. Have you been able to handle some of those like critiques?
I kind of just stay positive to myself pretty much. Like I don't really feed into that stuff because at the end of the day, I know who I am. And if I feed into that stuff, then it's just going to bring me down where I'll get stuck. You know what I mean? And I just feel like people, like also with pages that get criticized, they shouldn't be listening to criticism and just like take it as it is, because those people just, I look at it like they just more hating in a way. And it's just like, you know exactly what you're doing to help yourself and help your page. And it's not like you're doing it in a negative way. You're trying to just help your page out and grow it. And it's not like you just following a bunch of people just to get to follow back. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. Like I didn't go and just follow a bunch of people to get to follow back. I use my hashtags and videos just blow up and people like the video how it looks and just how or people will share my videos and then just they audience will follow me. And then I really never came across like someone telling me about my followers, to be honest. So I can't really like relate too much about that stuff. I can't really remember a situation where, someone told me about my following and what I do with my following and stuff like that. You could say, I can't really think right now about that, in a way where someone told me, hey, you following these bunch of people so you can get, follow backs. The only time that I pretty much, I could say probably got criticized, and I don't know if this fits the question, but it was more like, why do you post this one player a lot? You know what I mean? Like, why do you always go to Jalen game? Why do you always go to the Page game? But I'm like, I work for a company that directs me to those people, you know what I mean? And then I explained to them, hey, I'm not, they was like, and I remember the time they had a kid was like, oh, so you're just doing it so you can get follows and stuff? And I'm like, no, you got to understand, like, this is my job. This is what I need to do, but I'm not doing it for that, like for the followers and stuff like that. And you need to understand, like, it's just a job that I need to meet. Like they told me to do this and I'm going to go do it. And I break it down to them where I was like, we filming Jalen, but we also filming the 22, 40 something kids around him also. The 20 kids that's on, 10 other 15 kids are on bench. And whoever's playing, they'll get noticed. People, even fans, get noticed. We'll film fans and stuff like that. That's what we do. We don't just focus on one player. And I tell them that just because you don't see us featuring someone else right away, doesn't mean we're just, worrying about that person so we can get the followers. Because I have kids, now that I think of it, I did have a couple kids just bring that up where, oh, you're just doing it for the follow so you can get followers. I'm like, I'm not getting followers off of this. I'm working for a company. And if someone want to give me a follow, go ahead. You know what I mean? And I do go around and tell people, hey, I'm OvertimeLefty. If you want to give me a follow, go ahead, give me a follow, But I don't push the issue. If they don't want to give me a follow, they don't give me a follow. And I find myself sometimes following a lot of people. Well, you could say I did went through my following just the other day, and I'm actually watching my following. I see a lot of kids that I have actually follow, like they post and stuff, and they follow me back. But a week or two later, they don't follow me. I always wonder why, but I'm not the one to reach out and, hey, why do you unfollow me? You know?
Yeah,
Uh,
so sorry to interrupt. Like that's one of the harder. That's one of like the harder feelings for me because like I was seeing myself like declining in followers, and I actually thought it was because like it's these like bots that follow me or these random people like whatever. As long as the players follow me, it's all that matters. And then I'm looking and I'm seeing like, oh wait, this guy interviewed like 40-minute interview. He just unfollowed me. Like that's so like it's surprisingly all these players that I've spoken to, like good conversations, great interviews. I don't know why, but surprisingly, all the people that I thought like respected me and supported me and have met me and had a long conversation with me, like that's the ones that aren't following. So yeah, that's probably one of like the harder feelings, especially. I mean, if it's just those like those random kids too that do that, like that's kind of stupid. Like that, that's something not to worry about. But I don't know. I've like there was one guy that unfollowed me that we just had like we've been kind of tight and whatever, and he just for some reason unfollowed, and I was so confused because I always like supported him, like we would text each other every once in a while, hit him up, keep in touch. And he just said like it was just because like he was just doing it like to change his ratio, like it was all random. But at the same time, like you're not gonna think like, hey, this guy's just trying to get to the same place I'm trying to get to. We're both just growing high school basketball pages. Like, let me still support him and unfollow the people that don't need my stuff. But I don't know, that kind of like hurt my feelings in a way because at the same time, there could be some people who may hate my interviews, but one, you probably will never see my content anyways. Like half people that follow me, I probably don't come up on their stuff because they probably follow, over 100 people. And two, it's more just out of the respect. Like it's more about supporting the person and giving them that follow instead of like only having to follow them because you want to see their stuff every day. Like that could be a reason too, but it's more just the support too, which is why it's like important. But yeah, that's always like pretty hurtful when a player that I've talked to unfollows me or like a media page that I thought I was kind of friends with unfollow me. Like that does kind of hurt. Like that, yeah.
it is tough because, like, I always ask myself why, in a way, but I don't really get into that. I don't really beat myself. What I do is I actually go like they post, a couple of they posts, and comment below, and then go unfollow them too. But then I manage them following me right back, and then they'll message me like, "Hey, why do you unfollow me?" That's when I go into conversations where, "Oh no, you unfollow me," but I just felt like, since you unfollow me, I just unfollow you too, and they won't get really too deep into the conversation where, we don't really speak upon it. They'll just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna follow you back," and I'll follow them back. I only had this like with probably 3, 4 players where we had those interactions, and then I just left it alone. Like where they just follow me back, and I follow them right back after like liking a couple and comment on their post. They just message me, and then I just message them back, and it was that. It wasn't really too harsh feelings or anything. There was, "Oh, my bad, I don't follow you by mistake," just like you said, ratio things. "Oh, I just wanted to clear up my page," and stuff like that. And I normally go to like a lot of my following when I first started my page, because those are the people that are actually unfollowing me, that I'm like noticing. Like we used to interact a lot. I used to put your clips together when you wanted me to, but now that I'm doing so much, I can't do that. Even if you're reaching out to me, there's so many people that are just reaching out to me. Got so many message requests. It's hard to keep up with all that stuff on Instagram. And kids, and a lot of people, they don't really understand that stuff too. So it's like when you do break it down, it's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Or sometimes, like I told you, I just unfollow them and just leave them at that. And, they'll notice after a while and they'll just try to follow you back. But I'll be honest with you, I won't really get into like following them back right away, just because it's like it might repeat again where they'll just let it go for a couple weeks. Give me a second.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. Give me a second.
All right.
Grab it.
All right, guys, just stay patient. We'll be right back in a couple seconds. Wait for him to be ready, and then we'll just continue the whole thing. All right, we're back. We're all. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. No worries. Yeah, I mean these stuff.
I'm in New York, so I'm not at home. You know what I mean? Well,
Yeah,
I'm at my mother's house, so yeah. So what we left off, well, you were talking about the following and stuff like that. So like I said, like I really don't get into that stuff really because I just managed it over the time. I managed how social media really work. You know what I mean? In a way, like I don't let it just get to me too much. You know what I mean? I just like, okay, you don't follow me, you don't follow me. You know, I'm gonna unfollow you if you want to decide to follow me back. Go ahead, but it's harder when I do follow the person back because it might repeat again, like I told you, in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, they'll unfollow you again, and I've seen that. It's like a repeat stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know, you after a while, you will notice who actually going to be there and support you, and who's going to be actually your audience. And I do a lot of like Instagram lives where I'll take it off my like profile grid, but if you go to my IGTV, I have like a couple you know, live stuff that I go there and I do a lot of Q&As with kids and I try to see who actually engage in my stuff. And then I'll go back and like I'll screenshot a couple like conversations and stuff with people. And you can say like I'll go see if that person's actually following me or not. And if they are and they engaging a lot in my lives and I see them like actually constantly always popping up quick, those are people that I'm following right away because I know they will bring like how can I say they are paying attention to what I want to do with my content and stuff like that. And they'll tell their friends. And then I'm normally always on live, like saying, telling them, hey, send this to 10 other friends that you have on your friend list, you know. And out of that, I'll get maybe out of 10 people, I get like 3 to join, and out of those 3, I might get 1 to follow me. You know what I mean? And then that's how I can say I have grown my channel over the time. I only have my Instagram for over like a year and a half. You could say I started it like I told you last year when Jalen was a junior, or yeah, he was a junior when I first started my page, I remember. So it's almost 2 years now. And I grew basically to 8,000 followers. And that just, you know, I really didn't tell people, hey, post me, post this, post that, you know what I mean? And I was lucky enough to have a relationship with Devontae Cubs, where me and him has a great relationship. And he actually posted me where it got me almost, I say 600, 700 followers. And then we were just talking to his DM and I was like, he was like, yo, I was like, yo, bro, I'm trying to get a 10K, you know what I mean? In a way, you know, like I told you, I didn't care about it, but it was more like, I just want to like have that, swipe up, you know, type of stuff, you know, for links and stuff like that, that I can do. And he's like, hey, you know, bro, I got you. You know what I mean? It's like, he's like, I do promotions, but for you, I'll do it for free. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to pay me. You don't have to do none of this stuff. He's like, you're my boy. He's like, you should have been asking me this. I was like, he's like, bro, I was like, I don't really go out my way to try to ask people to do this stuff for me and like try to grow my page for myself. But, you know, it's just how you build relationship with people also. It will help you out in the long run, you know what I mean? And I have a great relationship with him where he's just like, yo, I'll post you, you know. He posted 2 videos of mine, kept it up for a day and a half. And, you know, that was just like a month and a half ago. And I even had Overtime reach out and be like, hey, Devontae, you know, he posted you. And it was like great. When I got that text from Tom, because Tom don't really text me like that. And then wait, well, we do text because he's like a business person. He always like so busy with the social media because he runs the main page. So when he texted me and he was like, hey, and Thomas, he was like, hey, that's a great look on you. You know what I mean? Because also Overtime CEO see stuff like that, you know, just other big channels see stuff like that. So it's like more like, oh, you know, he posted you. I'm like, yeah, that's my boy. You know, we have a great relationship. And then when people start seeing that, like pages and other big pages, it's like, oh, what can we do for him now? You know what I mean? That could possibly help us get into him, you know, because he has a better relationship with this kid now. You know what I mean? We don't have a relationship like that. So how can we get me basically or someone that has a relationship with that kid to do more things? You know what I mean? And I guess, you know, it's just how you come off and how you speak. I feel like I tell that to people also that ask me questions. How do you speak to these players? How do you get to like have these relations? I'm me. I'm just always gonna be me. I'm not gonna paint the picture of myself. I'm gonna speak how I speak. I'm gonna make him feel comfortable, like he's a player. I'm not gonna, you know, sometimes a lot of people want to be just all professional and stuff like that, you know, in a way where, you know, they want to speak proper. They want to just go about things a proper way. And sometimes it gets awkward when you do stuff like that, you know what I mean? And players notice stuff like that. So you just got to be you and just try to have a personnel where, you know, they understand who you are. And I just like, I'm just me, and I feel like just because maybe because I'm from New York and I grew up in New York where I'm just always speaking, I'm always trying to like get to know someone. Like when I met Jalen Suggs, when I went to go film him through my camera, I was not working for overtime. I still got the video when after the game, I walked up to him. I was like, "It was good, bro. Yo, my name is Rolando. My page is No Breaks. Hey, yo, check my video out. You feel me? Simple. Just kept it smooth like that. From there, I kept seeing him in games. And I mind you, while he in the layup line, I'm locking eyes with him. You know, I'm clapping. You know, I'm not just there just filming, like just being a videographer, like what a lot of people do. And I see that. And they don't build, like, not too many people I see that build relationship with players because of the stuff, like how they come off. Or they too scared to speak to them. Because a lot of them, like, and I'm not bashing on Josh, my boy Jingler, because he taught me a lot of my stuff, like the stuff that I know how to edit, camera settings and everything. That guy taught me everything that I know in a way, you know what I mean? So you can say my boy, he is kind of nervous to speak to players. He told me himself, you know, like, it takes me a while. But I'm like, yo, you got to be you, because once you break through him, like he's a person, like once I got to know him, man, he's a person I could, like, I tell him, I'm like, you got a personnel too, you just got to be you. But I think he's just afraid to be him. And I think people need to understand that you can't be afraid of being you. You can't, because a person he's gonna turn you down either way. So just be yourself. Don't try to be overly professional. Don't try to do too much or don't try to do too less. Just be yourself. Don't try to paint the picture. They'll notice. You know what I mean? It just be yourself. Whatever you got in mind and speak, don't overthink that twice. Just ask the question. You know what I mean? And I feel like that brought me a long way. Just being me being me. And before the games, getting there early, speaking to the players, what do you do? Like, besides, on your free time, stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I just know how to build relationship, I don't, and it's hard like to always explain that stuff too, because I do get that question a lot where, kids will come up to me like, well, videographers, like, hey, how do you do this? Like, how do you got that relationship with this kid? Like, he's like, I've been filming this kid since freshman year, but you just started, and how do you build this? And I'm like, I'm just me, and I just speak how I speak, and I guess they understand, and and I make them laugh and stuff like that. You can't just be always speaking about basketball, or can't be speaking about football. You got to speak about other stuff in life, that they can relate, I could say, and they understand. You know what I mean? And I think that's just more like the important stuff of like people connecting with players. Just like, don't always talk about basketball. Don't always try to like specify one thing. They get overwhelmed about that stuff. They always get spoken about like that same question over and over and over again. Sometimes you gotta go out the regular, if that makes sense. Like, just don't try to ask the same question everybody else gonna ask. Try to be a little more creative with your questions. You know what I mean? It's like a person will ask a player like, "What do you do on your off time?" or "What do you do like to train?" Instead of like, "Yo, what do you like?" It's like a good question that I know I came up with a long time when I was at the USA minicamp that I think it was Jalen Green. I was like if you play, I can't really think of the question that I asked him, but it was so creative. It was just so creative.
Any other sport besides like basketball, what would it be? Was that what you were gonna say?
Something like that. Yeah, I will ask questions like that. Like, yo, what other sports do you play besides basketball that and those questions don't ever be asked like that. Like, yo, what other sports you have played or you grew up playing, besides you tried out basketball, you know what I mean? What made you like basketball, besides like the other sport that you played? And what made you choose that sport? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I just feel like people always ask the same questions like, what do you do in the gym? Or what do you do to train? Or what trainer, like, it's just like, it's always the basic same questions I feel like that's always been asked. And I always see that in a lot of interviews with people. I always sit there, and that's one thing I always observe questions of how they ask these players. And what I do is I break those questions down and I come up with my own while I flip it around. And there's times that I remember with the USA camp, just to bring it up again, I have listened to all these people interviewing, just like small media places, like asking me questions, and I'll use the same question, but I'll switch it around and be more creative about it. Where I know he didn't answer the question correctly in a way, because it was more like, man, I just answered this question to the last guy that just asked me the same question. You know what I mean? I don't want to go too in depth or too in detail. So I just switch it up and just ask something way different from the whole question. It's almost like the question, but it's like hard to explain because of like the way my mind works. I'm off the top, like I'm creative where, it's just whatever spark in my brain right away. And I don't think twice. Like if that's the question I want to ask in my brain, a lot of people overthink their stuff. Don't think it. Just ask it. And then just if you don't see they flowing with it, just like ask some stuff, just right away. If you see they stopping, the way they just body language, you can tell. I'm a person, I pick up and stuff like that, just body language. And once I see like the conversation is like going downhill or is not moving the right way, boom, I spark with a different question, man. And then I just get it going, you know what I mean? And bam. So I see like the person's kind of almost like, all right, that's it, you know what I mean? But most of the time it's like everything I speak to is just like facts that I know is going to come out their mouth. Stuff that they want to hear themselves like speak about and it's just, I don't know. I'm just very creative in my brain. Like, I don't know. I just feel like things just flow right away. And I feel like people just need to understand, like, you just can't go over and over the same question because somebody else just asked it 5 minutes ago. And that's how it is with most of these players in their games. They get asked the same question multiple times, if that makes sense. I'm not repeating myself probably 2-3 times, but something that
what you said definitely did make sense. And that's kind of why, like, in my interviews, I always try to ask stuff. Like, of course, like, there's some things that, like, I genuinely wonder that I want. Like, there's some questions that are pretty basic, but, like, I want to ask it. Like, I want to know the answer. That's also, I guess, my mentality, too. Like, I try asking the most unique questions, and I try asking stuff that I want to wonder, something I want to know, because if it's something I want to know, that's probably not, asked around too much. But it's interesting how you said, like, the questions you were saying, like, oh, like, why do you play basketball? Like, in my opinion, that's like a basic question, but like the way you said it, I could imagine you asking like these players like those questions. Like you say it in a way where it's not like they've been getting it asked 1,000 times, because I know for a fact, like I see it in like every year, like that's a basic question. Like I avoid that question to ask because it's just so basic. But it is really interesting. Like the way you said that question, like the why do you play basketball, to me, like it made it seem like you're saying, I don't know how you did it, but it just made it seem like you were saying it in a different way. But you said you look at like people that ask the players questions, stuff like that. So that's obviously what I do. What's your opinion on the questions that I try to ask? Because honestly, like my most recent, 2 interviews ago, so not the one I just posted, one before, like that interview sucked. But honestly, one, I thought my question was kind of unique. And then when I got a response I was like surprised on getting, I was kind of like quick on my feet. Like I was like asking like a quick follow-up question, because I was seeing like this is about to be the worst interview ever. So I just try my best to bring it back up. But in terms of the questions I ask, because you said you kind of take note of that, like what would you say is your opinion on my kinds of questions?
No, you actually like kind of creative with your questions in a way, to be honest. There's questions that you ask that I say that these players are actually don't get asked every day. You actually a little different with your questions, where I don't see as a lot of repeating it. And I see a lot of players flowing through your questions, if that makes sense. Like they don't really, and like you said, they might have been a couple of interviews that I've seen that, just because the player is just so paying attention to other stuff, because I see them not.
Some of them though, some are just like not made to, like, some just don't like, talk, like they're those guys are like tight circle guys where they can't open up to anybody. But so that's
you will have those shy guys, you know what I mean?
The player than myself, like that's not really something I can control. But like other than that, I guess. But yeah, you can continue.
So I'm saying like I don't see really too much. I have to like more now look into it, and I can just like hit you up and break it down to you. But from what I see, it's just like a lot of players that you interview, they do flow. But the ones that don't, I could tell it's just like more of them being shy, or you just catch them at the moment, and it's like, all right, I got too much going on. I gotta answer these questions right away, and I'm gone. Like they'll just be quick and simple, But you ask some unique questions sometimes where I'm like, whoa, this is something that I could ask and switch around, in a way. And I can't. I wish I could have had some notes that I wrote down if I knew this question was gonna pop up, because I would have broke some stuff down to you right now, right away. But now off the top of the head, I can't really think of like questions that you actually ask that I could tell you that, I could actually break down for you that. But I could say like it was unique. Like most of the questions that you do ask is not repeats, really too many, like an everyday question that everybody get asked, if that makes sense. And also, I was surprised that you interview a lot of these players though, that like a lot of, like when I was looking through your page, like, and your videos, for some reason, your videos always pop up in my new feeds. Like I'm always like, every time I get on my Instagram, it's like one of your videos, or like one of your old videos, like a week ago or 2 weeks. I'm always looking through them, like when you interview like Mikey Williams and those kids, and I'm like those top players, I'm like, whoa, you know, it's hard for other people to even get it close to these people to interview, and how you got close and interview, you know, and the questions that you was asking wasn't really questions that you was pressuring them. You wasn't really coming at them or just can't really come up with the word for that. But
like stuff like questions that because actually that was a good example of the Mikey thing, because I asked him, I said, so I'm just blessed that he was like one of the last who will leave the gym, because I was too, and I walk up to him, I'm like, yo, can I do a quick 1-minute interview? That's all it takes. And just going back to where you mentioned like some guys are kind of on a rush. That's kind of why like I make my interviews rush too, because I know like they just want to leave. They say it only takes 1 minute, like, and you could tell like I guess I'm trying to find the balance between not talking too fast, because I'll be like rapping pretty much in my interviews, because I gotta make sure it's less than a minute, so it's not like an IGTV video, and so it doesn't take up too much of the player's time. So with Mikey, like I walk up to him like, hey, like, can I please do an interview with you? Like, so it'll be 1 minute. And yeah, and then he was like about to say no, and I'm like, I won't ask anything too crazy, like nothing you wouldn't want to say. It'll be like like it'll be fine. And he's like, fine, I'll do it. And then kind of asked him those questions. Yeah.
And not too many players like go for that stuff, to be honest. That I from me, it's past experience, where it's kind of how you come off and how your body language, and you just can't seem like you. I'll be honest with you, and I'll just put it like this out there: you can't seem like you beasting for an interview. They don't like that. Players don't like that. You know what I mean? Like you can't just.
I knew I would probably never ever see him again, so I knew that was like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So at the same time, I'm not saying you in particular, because at the end it don't seem like you're doing that. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I mean, in that moment, I was like, I'm making sure I get this interview. Like he's about to say no, and I'm like, please, like it'll be that. Like I have to make sure I got that, because I knew for a fact, I would never see him again.
But when I watched it, I can't really record everything that you were saying or he was saying too right now. But I could say, like, when I looked at it, it didn't seem like he was in a rush. It didn't seem like you was rushing in a way, But I see a lot of other people like they'll follow the player everywhere they go to try to get that interview. You normally you just gotta don't think twice about it. Just don't be afraid, because a lot of people think like these big time players, you have to like, oh, hold on, you have to like talk to them a certain way. You gotta go about it a certain way. It's just simple. Just they're regular human being like you are. You wait for them at the door and just ask them simple. Hey, do you want to get an interview with me? I just got a quick couple of questions, like you said, and it's gonna be quick and simple. Boom. And then obviously you probably already have the questions in your head.
Yeah, of course.
Off the top, you ask 2 questions, simple, get it through. Hey, thank you, I appreciate you, and get it going. You know what I mean? But a lot of people that interview players not like that. They pressure them. They and I see that. I see that a lot, where it's just too much pressure, or just right in their face, just too like mic all up. I've seen stuff like that where I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that. I know I wouldn't come off like that. In a way, and I'm always looking at like how a player would look at things in a way. Like I try to read the player. Like I always try to look into the player before I even try to do an interview on him, to see how he goes about other people and stuff like that. And what can I do to make him feel more comfortable? And how do I speak to make him feel comfortable? How do I come off? You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's how you come off. Like the interview could could translate.
I get what you're trying to say. Like if you could, like for some of the players, like when I was in Atlanta, for some like Mikey, I couldn't, like it wasn't right after his game. I was walking to him to a good spot to do the interview. I could say a few, crack a few jokes to make me feel comfortable. For other players, like I may have a mutual follower with them. I'm like, oh, this guy, like, yeah, that's my boy, or yeah, your coach, like I've been trying to interview you for a while, like thanks for taking your time, or stuff like that, because that's kind of big too. It's just that one other like statement right before it starts, like just walking to a good spot to do the interview. That's kind of huge too. So I start to feel more comfortable, and I usually tell them like the question I'm going to ask as well. If it's a guy like usually like now, if it's a guy I've done before and repeat, I'm like, all right, bro, like, let's do like another, you know the drill. And that's kind of what I say. I kind of to them now, but yeah, like that is so key to getting like them to maybe feel a little more comfortable. Just that one quick, thing to them, like, yeah, we have this mutual friend, or like, you're tough, bro, or even like this guy, I'm like this one guy, he committed to Dayton, and he picked Dayton over like Miami and like a couple other schools. I'm a fan at the moment. And he was like, and I was like, yeah, you should have went to Miami. And I'm like, yeah, but bro, like, in all seriousness, like, trust me, like, Dayton was definitely the move for you and whatever. Like, we're laughing. And then we did the interview, and yeah, but that's definitely super important. And about, like, I guess the personality with players and how you're kind of able to get them to like you. Like, at least for me, like, I'm not a basketball player. Like, I cannot, whatever I do, my personality is a way for me to describe it is I try to act like them. That's my personality. Like, I can't, like, at least for some stuff, like, we have common interests. Like, I love rap music. Like, I love that. Like, I could, break down songs, like, say, like, yeah, like, this song sucks. Like, I could say, like, oh, these lyrics mean this, like, this mean, like, I love rap music, love shoes, like, everything they like, I probably like. But in terms of, like, just being a player, like, I just can't, act like the way they act. Like, I try using their language, but it just sounds like so awkward. Like, I'm talking, I'm like, oh, like, all right, bet. Like, it kind of sounds normal, like, kind of sounds kind of weird. At the same time, at least for myself. So I feel like my personality, like, it's hard for a lot of players to feel like they're like tight. Like, I would say all the guys I've talked to, there's maybe one player that I would say I'm close with, like maybe one or two. The rest, not really. So in terms of that, like, what would your advice really be for me with that? Because I am, for the most part, like, trying to act myself, or just try my best to be like an approachable guy for these guys to feel comfortable around. But for some reason, like, all these guys I've met, like, there's pretty much only one that I would say I feel comfortable with. So what would be your or that probably, was like, I'll consider a friend of mine. So what would be your advice with that?
Just like basically, it's more like you said, like, you being you. So they respecting that. Just know that.
Yeah, I have the respect, but it's more like, I would love to be, friends with, like, I would love to be friends with all the players, like, not just like one. Like, I'd love to, talk to them like daily, more often, instead of like a quick checkup once a month, see how they're doing, and it's not really much.
So you want to know
that.
So you want to know how to relate to these players, basically.
Like, I want to know how to build, a good
relationship.
Yeah, like a genuine relationship, because it's also hard to, like, even the stuff you said, I feel like it's because, again, the guys that talk about basketball all day, so I want to find things to talk about other than basketball. But at the same time, like, what else do they like besides basketball, rap music, and shoes? Like, that's all I like, and for the most part, like, that's all they like too. And I guess video games. I don't have video games, so I can't really talk about that. Like, there's not really a lot to talk about if you think about it. But yeah, it's just really hard, like, trying to build genuine relationships with players, because that's kind of what I want. Like, I want to build, like, every guy I interview, like, it's almost a goal of mine to, from that, build a friendship. And I've only been able to really get that going with one guy.
See, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of tough, because, like, the way I do it is, like, it's just tough with a lot of people. And it's like, the advice that I can say is, like, I speak to their parents a lot too also, when I see them at games. Like, if I see their parents, I don't really go up to players sometimes. After a while, they start seeing me, and I say the brand also, Overtime, helps me, in a way. Where
I want to talk to you, like, but just from them seeing that Overtime thing on your shirt, they know this guy's valid. Like, I already feel kind of comfortable. They're not like there's some sketchy media small guy, like, talking to me. I mean, that's something I got to deal with, unless, I get picked up from some big time company. Like, I'm gonna have to deal with that forever, pretty much. So
yeah, so you prove yourself at the end of the day, and that's what's gonna happen. And don't get discouraged at the end of the day, because you're gonna have a lot of players who are gonna be, oh, he just this person. Because I hear it too, also from, I can't say, players' names and stuff like that, but I hear it all the time, like, oh, this small media company try to reach out and try to do this stuff. And I don't know if I should, because, such and such, I don't know what could happen from here, or what could be put out there, And I'm like, I look into stuff like that, where I'm like, I guess I'm lucky in a way, where I work for Overtime, and it's like, it's like, I'll break it down where, I really like just going, like, go to their parents, like, how you doing, how's your day going? How was your ride here today? And I'm like, yo, besides, like, what other sports, you played? Like, I was like, oh, you played basketball before, And then, we get a couple that they'll be like, nah, I grew up playing this other sport, and then I translated and played this sport. And then I'm like, well, our kid, they picked up a basketball, and that's what they like to play. but they play some baseball, they play they did some swimming, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I did swimming in high school too. It's crazy. Like, I bet I could beat him probably in the 53, and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, what's your 53? And I'm like, oh, a 21. It's like, oh, my son's was like a 25. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go ask him after the game and stuff like that. And then it'll be crazy where they'll bring their son like, oh, he said he swim. And he think he can beat you in the race, and stuff like that. And that's how it just flow. It's just like I tell you, it's hard to explain how to build relations. I go with the flow.
I guess you could say like it just seems like natural, talking to them, and that's just kind of how it works. Like, there's actually one parent, somebody like it is honestly like it's hard discovering who the players' parents are, especially at these high school games. Like, especially on the road. Their parents aren't gonna show. It's not because they're terrible parents. Like there's so many games. Like sometimes it's far away and they take the bus to the team. So, or even the players drive. Like I know now, like my parents love me so much. Like I would say I have the best parents in the world. But I mean, I could drive my car. So what's the point of my mom, going to my game, especially because I'm the team manager. Like there's no point in her showing up. Like I could drive myself. It's not a big deal. I know she loves me at the end of the day. Probably even more than majority of kids' parents do. So I guess it's kind of challenging finding out like who the players' parents are. But for one of them, something that I think is good too, if I do discover who this player's parent is, and I've spoken to the player before, like one thing they'll say is like, I'm just letting like you raised a great kid. Like they're just so nice. And then I tell them like, yeah, like I guess you say I compliment them when they're like parenting, just because like at least for one parent that I've met. So I was talking to her. I'm like, yeah, like your son, like he's one of the nicest guys I've met. I'm very grateful. Like, he is that way. Like you did a great job. And then I found out that they live in the same like, town I live in, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, that's kind of a challenge of finding out who the players' parents are. But I like it really just does come natural at the end of the day. So I'm just hoping like as long as I keep going, like I even asked, I'm gonna throw his name out there, like Zach Shoemaker, like the number one guy pretty much with what I do. I remember I asked him like what guys are you close with, and he pretty much gave me like 11. Like the guys been interviewing for at least maybe 2 years. I only gave me like maybe 10 guys that he said he's like tight with. So I guess it's just gonna happen natural. Like maybe I'll never become tight with these players, but at the end of the day, as long as I have the respect and support, which has been tough getting lately, but as long as I have the respect and support, that's kind of all that matters. Like you don't need a friendship, you just need more like a respectable business relationship where they know he's all about his business, he knows I'm all about my business, and we're cool like that, which is also I guess fine too in a way for sure.
And I feel like it's more like the area too. I'm in Minnesota. Minnesota's kind of nice, like you can call it Minnesota nice out here, where you have a lot of parents that support their kids in like sports. Like when I'm saying like all these parents, like you see mom or dad or grandma in the stands, and who these players' parents are. Like especially the people that I film, like you can see who players like. I could say it's just more like, you got to go and like speak to them on like what you do. Like if you can't like build a relationship on like, I say like this, for example, I could give you like a good tip where it can help you in the long run where, sometimes it don't have to be like about your personal life or anything. It could also, you go reach out to them like, hey, look, this is my page. This is what I do. This is what I want to do. And, if I ever have a chance, would I be able to do this and that, with your kid, or would you think he would be able to, be comfortable to do this with me? Stuff like that also works out where, you just don't be afraid. Sometimes you get turned down.
Something that I did too, actually. I'm sure Eric Daly Jr. So I saw his like mom and dad after. I haven't posted that. I shouldn't have said that out loud, but actually, yeah, it doesn't matter because I did already. Like my theory, I'm superstitious. So if I haven't done an interview yet, like I won't say, like I've done. Like people say, like who you interviewing tomorrow? Like I'm not going to tell you because these players they full on me left and right. So like I don't say till it happens, but I interviewed him already because it was in person. So that's I just haven't posted it yet. But I saw his mom and I asked her, I'm like, hey, can I interview him? Like, do you mind? Like, I wasn't really able to talk because there was like a lot going on with like trying to figure out where his team is coming out of. So it just had to be a quick conversation. But if it was more, I guess, relaxed, and I kind of knew like I'd be okay with seeing him after the game, and I wouldn't need to work my butt off just to figure out like where his team's exiting. Like I should have been chill. But yeah, I said like, hey, can I do this to your son? Like whatever. And again, if it was more chill out, that could have built relation with them too. Like wow, like never knew you're only 16. Like grinding like this, like that's crazy. Like I'll even give a page a follow. Like I'll tell his friends, parents, moms about you, whatever, like stuff like that. So it's definitely super important. And just before we get in the interview, because it's been getting a little bit long. It's kind of a longer end of stuff, which is good too. It's a lot of advice, but obviously, like you don't want to blow people's brains out with advice. We can always do part two, something like that. But again, like my pay's really been in the decline. Like it's been a struggle with me now getting players. Like I'm seeing players unfollow me that I thought liked me. There's all this stuff with us trying to grow my brand. Like I don't really know what to do. Do you have at all any advice on how I could to start going back up on the right track again?
I say this, like, to be honest, like the way you're gonna grow your channel, and it helped me a lot, and it will help others. The advice that I could give you is more like go to hashtags, and for an hour or two, comment on people's pages for like an hour or two.
Real quick, the one thing so that's actually how I grew a ton. I think I got like 1,000 followers in a month because I would just go find like I would pretty much go to your profile, see who follows you, and then like all their posts or a few of their posts, and they'll follow me. But like I want to have, because I would go to bed at night and I'll be like happy, but at the same time I'll be thinking like this didn't happen naturally. Like it wasn't because my stuff is good. It's because I have to get them to notice me, and I don't know. Like I wasn't feeling like, I felt like I was almost like kind of cheating in a way. Like I just want it to be the more natural growth, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't want to have to make that happen. Like, of course, I want to make opportunities for myself happen, but in terms of doing stuff like that, I was just feeling like I wasn't doing the right thing.
You could also, the thing is, you could also reach out to bigger pages and try to collab with them and have some stuff where, you could use your brand and use their brand at the same time. And it's just more how you write what you want to do to the brand. Basically, tell them about, hey, I want to go about this like this way. I want to interview this player, but I feel like you guys can help me, reach out to this player. And it's just how you go about things where it's just reaching out to these big companies. I know a lot of people is afraid because they might think they won't get an answer back, but most of the time it's how you come off. They will answer back. Just because you have 1,000 following, 2,000 following, don't get discouraged. Like they will reach it back out to you. It'll take them probably a couple weeks, but it will. It just depends on how you write your, the script and how you want to go about it. And you just got to explain yourself very well on what you want to do. Can't just be simple about it, and you have to be creative and not like basically try to, your content actually different where you would just interview. I don't see that too many, I don't see too many pages doing that where you actually going in depth about these players, like actually interviewing them where people want to know more about them. You don't really see that stuff where you could collab with other bigger media companies where they'll need that stuff, and you guys can go over like content stuff like, hey, you can shoot this while I'm doing this, and I'll ask these type of questions. And you could grow like that. You could actually grow like that because they'll reach out back to you. They might repost your stuff. And especially reach out to those channels that have like YouTube channels where they can post your stuff on YouTube. And I say like, for me, it was more like hashtags. That's what helped me grow and reaching out to companies and having them like repost my videos. And I use the hashtags on my comments, like not even on my page, on my comments. I'll like, once I post a video, I'll look into like the top hashtags. I'll grab those. I'll grab like 20 hashtags that are like the most popular right now. And then just, cause I'll look through them on hashtags. And then like, once I post a video, I say not even a second once I post a video, I'm on the comment trying to post that video. I mean, post the hashtags right under, because that's the only way the hashtag is going to work.
Yeah.
People, and then you can say from there, your video can get reposted from other pages. They won't tag you. That's the thing. I've seen that a lot where a lot of my videos, like especially my personal like just content video, they won't repost.
If you reposted my interview without tagging me, like the players can still go, or people can still go and like the video and then clear your profile. Like them tagging you on like their IG story, like doesn't actually do much.
Well, I feel like if a person do tag you, if they got great following on their IG story, like I say like me, I get about like 2,000, 3,000 views on my story, whatever I post. Because a lot of people just like to watch my stories. Even if I don't post that,
anything close to that, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, like when I did the last thing I did was like post a pic, something, drop the pic. I had like over 3,000 views, and I couldn't even answer all the questions, in there.
Yeah,
So you could say like there's players that could be able to post your stuff, on your story if you ask them, hey, can you just post it on your story? Don't be afraid to ask them. Some of them would be like, nah, I can't. And it's fine, with that. But the ones that can, you can at least get a couple following from them.
yeah.
Also,
That's
you can.
what I do with every player I interview. That's actually what I do. But yeah, that's like the big thing for me growing my page is I've asked every player like that I interview. I say like, can you like, I'm letting you know like when I post a clip on Instagram, like I'm gonna tell you to like I let them know before like I even do the interview. I'm gonna say when I post my Instagram, like if you could repost it, like it really helps out the page. And that has been what's big with getting likes, just because my stuff does not blow up. It's never hit explore. I don't know why. It just haven't. So I got to find a creative way. So every player I interview, I always try, to get them to repost the interview, and that's kind of what's been key.
So just one more thing for you that I had in mind that will help you. You could also set up a group chat on your DMs with just like most of the social medias you're in contact with.
Yeah,
Including me.
I haven't gotten put in like any of those group chats. And I'm not gonna like make a group chat with people that don't know each other and whatever like that. That can be kind of awkward. But like I know there's group chats out there, but instead I what I would do is I just send it to the people. If I did make a group chat, I just send them the post like individually. We could just press like send separately, and they all see, and I'm like, oh, like repost, and hopefully they repost. But yeah, I don't know why I've never been put on a group chat before. Like, I don't know why I haven't, but
You should. It helps a lot. It helps with interaction. Also, it helps like a person like me. If you put me in a group chat with somebody else, I would like to meet whoever like the other person is. I'll click on their page. I'll probably give them a follow, reach out to them. It'll help like that. It'll help you out in a way. It'll help grow. And like I said, now right there when you said that is you're afraid of doing it. You can't be afraid of doing something. You just gotta try it. If it fails, it fails.
yeah, my one thing is that like at the same time, I know personally, like I'm putting myself in someone else's shoes. Let's say I was account slightly bigger than mine, and I got put in a random group chat from an account, a little bit lower than mine, or than So let's say my account. Let's say my name is Bob now. My name is Bob, and I have an account with 5,000 followers. And then iHoopsFL is you made a group chat with me and all these other guys that I don't really know. And iHoopsFL is like, hi, I just wanted to get this like grow each other, like just out of the blue, like me, Bob, I'd be like, this is like a little bit weird. Like this guy's
Well,
weird. And that's what I would think personally.
see the way you go about it now, you reach out to the probably 10 people that you're gonna put in this group chat
Oh,
individually.
yeah,
Hey,
first.
I'm gonna do this. Do you want to be able to be in this group chat? I just want to do this for a while. If it works, it works. If you don't want to be in it, it's fine. You might get out of the 20 that you ask 10 to join. Once you do that, all you gotta do instead of just going individually, you put it in the chat. They understand. You just write a little paragraph. That's what I've been doing. I've done stuff like that. I haven't created too many content on like right now, but when I used to do that. And then, hey, can you just like send this to 10 other people and have them send it to 20 other people, and it'll grow from there. You know what I mean? So that's it worked for me. And there was things that failed, group chats that failed, but but it was stuff that was successful for me where I ended up, I had like 2,000 following and ended up getting 12K views on one of my videos just because of the sharing, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that worked for me in times, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely do kind of like that idea. But anyways, again, appreciate you for coming on. Definitely, I said this yesterday. A lot of knowledge sharing my thing yesterday. Again, today, now a lot of knowledge was definitely dropped in this, podcast interview, whatever you want to call it. Or maybe I have to do a part two. I know there was probably some other stuff I may want to address.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to make this thing go on forever.
That's fine.
I got stuff to do, but yeah, it was a really really good podcast session. But anyways, but before we get in the interview, you got any final things you want to say or like anything you want to plug or stuff like that?
I just want to tell everybody that's going to watch this, or anyone that want to know anything about just about just the industry. Just don't ever give up. Stay positive. Stay motivated. And sometimes you won't see growth, or you won't see success in like a day, in a week, or in a month. Might take years, but don't ever give up. Don't try to be stuck, and just try to find ways and be more creative, and just listen to criticism, and you're always gonna get criticized. So just stay positive and never put your head down, and always try to reach out to others to learn more, and just be creative and positive and motivating. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, it's facts. Well, make sure you guys give us a follow on our Instagrams at OvertimeLefty. I hoop that fell. Anyways, for Rolando Ramos, or better known as OvertimeLefty, I'm Isaac Fleischer. And yeah, I hope you guys like this little session here. Again, hope you guys take something away from this. But yeah, peace out, everybody.